I'd like to welcome everyone to our first PTO meeting of 2022. Hopefully this year's a little bit better than the previous years. I'm Alana Trimble. I'm a co-president with Stephanie Tranel, who's ran the last couple meetings. So you've seen her face a lot. I want to thank everyone for joining us. This is a big meeting, I think one of our most popular meetings of the year because there's a lot of information that our counselors have to share. Today we'll be hearing from Eric Trainer, and sorry, I have dogs, so if you hear barking or a bird, I apologize in advance. We'll hear from Eric Trainer and Larry Mandernock as I walk over to the door. Mr. Trainer is going to be talking about preparing for life after high school and moving on to the next level. And Mr. Mandernock, of course, is going to give us some information on ACTs, the AP courses, and all that kind of stuff that the kiddos need to move on as well. After those guys talk, we're also going to hear from our principals to get an update on the buildings and what's going on there. And of course, like usual, today is set up as a webinar. So you can submit questions, and Lane, of course, will be our awesome moderator as usual. So she will either respond directly to your question or she will pose those questions to the speakers so that they can handle the questions. So Lane, thank you for your help with that. And of course, I have a couple PTO things to mention before we move on to our speakers. First off, I just want to thank everyone for your continued support. We couldn't do what we do without you guys. So your donations financially or you're donating your time is really appreciated. We've seen in December a big, huge thank you to everyone who donated to the cookie boxes. We were able to give a dozen cookies to 370 teachers and staff in at Valley Southwoods. Sorry, I'm getting a call. Valley Southwoods, Walnut Creek, the LRC. So thank you to everyone who donated for that, and to Andy Lipman, who organized the event, which is not an easy undertaking always, to the volunteers that delivered the cookies, to the principals who let us in the building so we could deliver the cookies. We appreciate all your support. If you've not had a chance to donate to the PTO yet this year, you can still do so. We'll always take your donations. You can go to www.vhspto.org. And another reminder that I've been asked to share is, as the kiddos are getting ready to register for courses, if you prefer to have a hard copy of the course catalog, you can talk to the Valley Counseling Office or the Valley Southwoods office and request one, and you can get one if you'd rather have the paper in hand. I know some people like that, so be sure to reach out if you would like that. I think that's it for the PTO. So we can move on to our first speaker, Eric Trainer. And Eric, I just want to toss it to Larry once you're done. That way we can get through all the information and have plenty of time for questions. I'd appreciate it. So thank you for coming, and it's all yours.
Yeah, thank you. I can't remember how many years it's been now that we've done this presentation from the counseling office, and really look forward to it every year. And I just want to say that we can't stress enough how much the PTO means to us. Over the years, all the years that we've worked here and getting to know families, and it's just such a nice, the meals that you guys provide, the treats those cookies. That was so much fun. Like, it's just great to walk into the workroom in there and just have. It's just such a welcoming feeling. Besides the actual things that you guys do, just the feeling that it gives staff is really valuable. Definitely feel like a community, and so just can't thank everybody enough for that. So, okay, so I am really excited for this time of year. We really start to ramp up our future planning activities with our students. We do a lot starting here in January. There's a lot going on, the end of the semester, beginning of the new semester. And at the same time that we're doing that, we are asking students to also really think heavily about the choices that they're going to make for their next school year. And so a lot of that really just all kind of ties into what we're going to talk about today. I've got a slideshow that we're going to go through. But this January and February is really a big month for future planning for your students. So, and I'm going to give you guys some tips at home to talk about with your students at home, show you a few things that we're working on with them here at school that hopefully will help start some conversations too as well. And I've got the question and answer screen open, and I know Lane's gonna kind of watch that too. So don't hesitate to type a question. I'm lucky enough to have Larry Mandernock here today, so we're gonna go through this slideshow presentation, and we'll kind of bounce off of each other when we get to certain topics. So please don't hesitate to ask a question as we go. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Make sure I get this right. All right, so can everybody, are you guys able to see right now the slideshow that I have up? Okay, good. All right, so I'm not going to put it in presenting mode because I'm going to be clicking around a little bit. So if it's okay, I'm probably just going to leave it up like this. I just first want to just talk a little bit about our counseling staff. Working with your students, I can't thank parents enough for the partnerships that we've developed over the years, and the trust that you've put into Valley High School to really try to help your students, not only with their academics, I mean, their day-to-day classes, number one priority, but just the ability to work with them as they plan what they view their life is going to be after high school. And also can't thank West Des Moines District enough for putting a lot of resources into our counseling staff and our counseling program. There's a lot of budget cuts going on across Iowa, across the country, but West Des Moines has really always been a huge supporter of guidance and just not only in manpower but in resources. So this is our counseling staff. There's 6 guidance counselors: Mackenzie Gersdorf, myself, Carla Hardy, Tony Wieland, Becky Sinram, and Larry Mandernock. And this team, we've been together now for, several of us have been here almost 20 years now. Larry's our elder statesman. He's been here 20 plus years, I think. So and so it's been a great team to work with, and we all work really well together, and it's just a real blessing. We have a new person this year, 2 new people this year. Chris Nelson's our new high school registrar. She does a lot of behind the scenes work. And so all the grading, all the transcripts, all the record keeping, that's Mrs. Nelson, Chris Nelson. And then Kenya Pruitt is also new this year. West Des Moines, again, another big commitment to post-secondary planning, has hired a second DMAC counselor to partner with us. And Kenya Pruitt works a lot with post-secondary planning, not just for DMAC, but all kinds of programs, apprenticeships, 4-year colleges, 2-year colleges. She's with, excuse me, in our office a couple of days a week. Becca Hendricks is a second DMAC counselor who works with all our dual credit courses. And Cindy Bonus is our Silver Cord coordinator. So, maybe there's a way, I'll ask after this, if this presentation can be shared and viewed after this is over with for people to access. What we've done is we have several different presentations that we've tailored for sophomores, juniors, seniors, parents. And so what we're going to go through today is just kind of a snapshot of some of those slides. And I can talk with you about that a little bit. But in this first one that's linked, our email. So all of the counselors are listed there, and our email is linked there as well. So it's a great office, and really lucky to be here. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to talk with you guys about, and I'm primarily, I think this is a 9 through 12 audience here, but it's starting all the way back in junior high. Your students started working with a program that our district has invested a lot in called Naviance Student. And so a lot of future planning activities that we do, we have tailored through this Naviance Student. Naviance Student is a program that every student in our district has access to. So we really try at a young age to get students used to working with this program. You'll see there the activities that a student can do in there. There's interest inventories, there's resume builders, career searches, college searches, And I'm going to show you, hopefully, if I click on the link up here. There we go. Is everybody seeing the Naviance student there? Is that showing up? Okay, good. This is the student view of Naviance student here. So that's my account. But so this, oh shoot, now of course it's not working. But oh shoot, sorry guys. I was hoping I'd be able to show you what it looks like from the student view. But this is Naviance student is a great program that we use as educators. You can see that the view here. We can manage a lot of our students' activities here, but the interest inventories and the college searches are what we really try to get with students to do. And even into their senior year, we'll use this Naviance student to help them with college applications. All the student has to do is go to the district homepage, and when they're at the district homepage, when they go to the student resources, there it is right here. So the Naviance student. So, and then it takes them into to be able to sign in using their Google account. And so all they need to use to access this is their username and password from their Google account. So it's at the district homepage under student resources. And it's a great way for students and parents to start communicating with each other. There's some great resources in there. Mrs. Gersdorf is one of our counselors here in our office, has put together a lot of great videos. That there's a link on this presentation that will show you how to use the different how to log in, and then all the different things that can be used with it. So we've done a great job of trying to make it as easy to use as possible. So 8th grade, junior high, they start using it. 9th grade, they do a lot of activities. And then into 10th and 11th grade, we continue. We try to do it in advisory. We do it in some of our groups that we meet with students in. So just a great program, and can't say enough good things about it. So I would really encourage you, if you're wanting to start conversations with your student about, what's it going to take to, apply to certain programs, what's it going to take for, like, if you're a career, the students got a career about, they do a great job of linking careers with needed education, job prospects. So it's a real great program to begin to start to use to do some of that exploring. Larry, do you have anything about Naviance student that I'm missing that we should cover? Okay. Okay, so then this slide here, just a little bit more about Naviance student and how to use it. The big thing that we want to stress is, and I've been so impressed with Valley on this slide, is that, we are growing out of the mindset that every student has to go to college, that every student, that a college education is the only way to be successful. We have done a lot of work. Our district office has partnered with us a lot to set up apprenticeship programs. A lot of the classes that we teach at Valley, in our tech ed department, our business department, our computer tech department, a lot of apprenticeship programs are out there for students. A lot of 2-year programs are out there for our students to continue to explore. So definitely want to work with all students. So I know a lot of students, sometimes they just don't even know what they want to do yet. And so we try not to say, like, okay, there's only one path for success. And we have a lot of programs that have partners with us. So a lot of different opportunities out there. So please don't ever be afraid to reach out to one of your kids' teachers, a guidance counselor about other options just besides college. Okay, so one of the big things that we're doing right now with students is kind of high school planning. A lot of students, when they're freshmen and sophomores, sometimes it's really kind of hard to see the connection from their classes to life after high school. But you know, the best thing that I can tell students and families is to really take serious this time of year the process of going through our course registration process. So in this slide, what we're doing at this time of year right now is we're really working with students to understand what it's going to take to make sure that they've reached their requirements for graduation, their graduation requirements. So we've put a couple links in there for students to explore that. You know, the different requirements that we have for the high school diploma. There's a link here that will take you to the district webpage. It's done a great job of breaking down every graduation requirement, how many credits a student needs in each of those graduation requirements. And then it's kind of an interesting time too, because we've had some changes in graduation requirements. New for the sophomore class is the health credit. New for the junior class, biology and chemistry are required. I think this year, we have, out of our 4 classes that are here, 3 of them are under different graduation requirements. So there's been, but that's, you know, something that West Des Moines done a great job of staying ahead and really encouraging students to meet all their requirements, not just to graduate from high school, but then the electives also as well. We got the core classes that we need to take, but we also really do a good job of trying to encourage kids to take a lot of different electives requirements. So this is a great link to check out with your students. And then the big one, this one has just been updated for our new school year, is the 2022-23 course catalog. So we have a link for the PDF version on here. Some families, like Lane said, prefer a hard copy, and we have some of those available too. So but this website, this is actually a website that I use a lot when I'm working with students. They've done a great job of breaking down all the courses into the different categories, what's available. We've got information about the AP classes on here, the honors program, the scholars program. So this is a great website too, to encourage some conversations between you and your student right now. The course, I'm going to bring up and show you guys something here. So on your students' Canvas page right now, there is a link. There's a new course that was created for your student based on who their counselor is. So if this is for the current 10th graders, a future 11th grader, this is an example of when they log into Canvas, they would see, if I'm their guidance counselor, they will see a course on there with my name, Counselor Mr. Trainer. And all of the registration information is in that course. I know the district's done a good job of putting out a lot of information about future planning and thinking ahead. But if you would really like to sit down with your student and kind of see what they're seeing, just have them bring up their course registration. And there are all kinds of, it's the same kind of links that we're showing on here. They're in this classroom too. So the links to the course catalogs, the graduation checklist, electives videos. So just another really great way to kind of start conversations with your students about what they're interested in and what that may mean for them planning after high school. Okay. Okay, so sorry guys. Here we go. Okay, high school courses transferring to college. This is a major question that we get a lot. We have several classes that earn DMAC dual credit classes as your students are going through. So we've put a link in here into the list of all of our DMAC dual credit courses that we offer at Valley High School. So this is Mrs. Henrik. She's our contact person, and she comes into our office at least once a week. And then you're going to see, as I scroll down here, these are all the courses that we teach at Valley High School that have an equivalency at DMACC that a student can earn dual credit for free while they're taking classes here. And the cool thing about this is you'll see they're not just core classes. We have a lot of classes that are in the arts, the tech ed, the computer sciences, the business classes. So most of our AP courses receive college dual credit, which is, and again, at no cost to the student or the family. And it's really quite an exhaustive list. And I think over the last few years, I think a lot of families and students have seen announcements where students have actually earned their associate's degree while they're in high school. So there is a link here. If your student feels that they're going to be taking several AP level courses at their time during high school, they may have an option of using this worksheet and determining if they would take enough courses to actually earn a 2-year associate's degree. Now, the important thing to remember about this, though, is that all of our dual credit courses transfer to our state colleges, and most of them will transfer to most schools. Most colleges and universities will accept DMACC dual credit courses. So even if you take a couple of these courses, there's going to be some benefit to a student when they go on, if they go on to a 4-year college. But this is a very helpful tracking sheet if your student talks to you about the possibility that they may be able to earn that 2-year associate's degree while they're still in high school. I think every year that number's been increasing every year for our students. But also do want to tell students too that that's a big task, and so we want them to not, if they can't quite reach that, there's still such a big benefit just to taking any dual credit classes that we offer. So then our advanced placement courses, Mr. Mandernock works a lot with our AP testing program, and I know that he's gonna talk about that when we get down to the testing. But we have also been really trying to encourage our students to think about taking an AP class. We have several AP classes that we feel students can be successful in, and we've really been trying to work with our teachers and our departments to encourage students to think about taking an AP class as well. And we have AP tests at the end of the year. Now, I know there's some questions from students sometimes like, well, if it gets college credit, why would I take the AP exam if it's already getting college credit from DMACC? But one of the nice things about taking an AP class is your student does get a weighted grade. So on their high school transcript, whatever grade it is, if they've taken the whole year and they take the AP exam, then they do get a bump in their GPA because of that. So that's a good incentive to continue to do that. Also, there might be instances where that AP credit transfers over the DMACC credit at sometimes, or that they might use that AP college credit for something that the DMACC credit wouldn't be used for. So try to encourage kids to challenge themselves as much as possible. Okay, so that's the course selection. One of the things that we also try to do, one of our major jobs, of course, is to work with students on their planning and their course selection and how that reflects what they want to do after high school. But one of the things I really love about this job is the partnerships that we've been able to develop with college representatives. And not just your traditional 4-year colleges, the 2-year schools, the apprenticeship programs. We've really developed some really great relationships, and I would encourage students to really pay attention through their Naviance student, through announcements. And I'm not sure how all those announcements go out, but we are constantly getting schools and programs, military, different jobs that want to come in and see our students and talk to them. And we will host these colleges, representatives during the school day. And so a student can sign up through their Naviance student account, or by coming into the guidance office when they see that there's a program coming to visit, and we will give them a pass. they're able to leave their class and come for a visit and to sit down with a college representative, with a program representative, and really talk with them about what questions they have. So it's really nice because it is hard sometimes to try to schedule time for a student to miss school and to go on college visits. So it's a great resource. The other thing that's been great is a lot of our colleges that are farther away have been setting up Zoom calls and Google Meet calls. And we'll set that up. We'll set it up here in the counseling office. The student comes down, logs in with their Chromebook, and is able to take part in a virtual meeting with somebody as well. So please watch for those as they come through. Nothing can quite replace, as much as experience as we've had in the guidance office, asking questions directly to those college admissions reps or those program reps. It's very helpful. We do encourage students to visit when they have the opportunity, and to do that during their sophomore and junior year. Different programs have different visit days, but you always don't have to wait till the summer. The summer is always kind of the best time, so you don't miss school. But also during the school year is great because you can kind of actually see what a campus is like. So all you have to do is just excuse it like you would anything else, just an excused family. And you can set up you call the attendance office, and we'll excuse them for the day. Contacting the admissions office directly is always usually the best way to do this. Just going to the college website and going to the visit page and set it up through the admissions office. And again, if they need help with that, a lot of our job sometimes is contacting these colleges, and we're always happy to help a student do that, or a family do that as well. Okay. One of the big topics that's come up recently, and Larry's going to talk about this a little bit, is the admissions. So when a lot of students and families, you start thinking about programs that you're interested in, and then of course, what is it going to take? And Naviance Student does a nice job of that too, of kind of breaking down a college or a program and the admissions criteria. But our Board of Regents for the 3 state schools use something called the Regents Admissions Index. And in this slide, it's got a link that we provide that students can kind of see what it's going to take to be directly admitted out of high school into one of our state schools. Now, the 3 state schools use this program, but honestly, colleges, they may not use the RAI calculator, but the same criteria is what they're considering. And so it's a great tool. The 3 things that colleges look for when they are admitting students are an ACT score, a cumulative GPA, and then core subjects. Now, our core subjects are language arts, social studies, math, science, and world language, and some computer science classes. Electives are extremely important. We never want to tell students that all they have to do is just focus on the core subjects, because electives just as much count in a student's cumulative GPA, and colleges want to see well-rounded students. But especially if you have a senior, we really try to encourage our future seniors, our current 11th graders, to really consider to take more math and more science and language arts and writing and literature and reading classes, and just to really try to continue in that area, because of most of their graduation requirements and college admissions requirements are completed after their junior year. They don't have much left to take. So we want them to explore classes. We want them to take a lot of different electives, but also keep a nice balance going into their senior year too. So we have a couple links on here. The RA calculator will pull up, and you'll see the Board of Regents. Now, I know Mr. Mannernach's going to talk about this. I'm not going to steal his thunder on it, but ACT is something that has been talked about a lot lately, but that still is part of this calculator. The grade point average, if your student is taking AP courses, students use the weighted GPA and the number of completed core courses. And so it's a pretty easy formula, and you just put those in, and they're looking for a score of 245 or higher when you put these scores in. So we'll just do just a trial run of one. And we're always on a 4-point scale, and usually students complete about that number. So that gives you a 247. That's automatic admission to a state school. Now, if your student doesn't reach a 245, that doesn't mean they can't be admitted, but it's just not automatic, and it usually goes to like an individual review if they're below that. But you'll see that like the core class component, let's just say your student takes a couple more core classes, and you can see how fast that number goes up sometimes. So oftentimes we tell a student if their goal is a 4-year college and they're not quite sure if they're going to be able to be admitted right out of high school, that the best way to kind of help bolster that application is to think about if you can fit a couple more core classes into your schedule. Again, the DMACC, Kirkwood, we have some amazing 2-year colleges, Iowa Western, Iowa Central. Those 2-year colleges, a lot of students will choose to start at a 2-year school for a variety of reasons. Maybe they're not sure what they want their degree in, or maybe that's all that it requires is a 2-year degree and some post-secondary training. So a high school diploma, ACT score, but there is no minimum ACT score required at DMACC. And then sometimes they use some placement tests to determine where they would place a student. So a lot of times students, if they're not quite sure they want to go to a 4-year college, will start at a 2-year school, save some money. The tuition rates are much more reasonable. And a lot of those programs have developed great partnerships with our 4-year state colleges here, that if a student after that decides that they want to continue, that there's some pretty seamless transitions from one school to the next. And so we spent a lot of time talking with our students about that. Our most recent numbers was about 54% of our students will start at a 4-year school. About 20 to 22% will start at a 2-year college. And then we have several students that go into apprenticeship programs, the workforce, the military. So we, like I said, we'll work with students wherever they're at. Now, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because this could take forever, but we do work with students on financial aid and scholarships. We have in our office really worked hard over the last several years. We've gone to trainings, we've become FAFSA certified. We host a FAFSA completion night. We host a FAFSA informational night in the spring. And so we understand, and it's not just for 4-year colleges. Any kind of post-secondary education, a student could be eligible for financial aid or scholarships. And so we really try to help students and families with this as much as possible. But one of our great resources is the Iowa College Access Network, and they partner with us quite a bit. So we've put a link for that program as well, and they got a lot of great resources on here. So your guidance counselor, there's several of us here that could help directly with some of these questions, but also this Iowa College Access Network is a free resource that students can access, that families can access. They will meet with you, they will talk with you about financial aid, they'll help you file the FAFSA. They'll help you kind of consider some other alternatives if financial aid, other student loans, other parent loans, other ways to finance an education. So it's a great program. So something that we've really tried to encourage our students to take advantage of.
Hey, Eric, sorry to interrupt. We just have a few questions that it might be helpful to answer before we get too far down the road. There were two that were related to the calculators. So one was asking about where it's located, and another one I think was, and maybe Larry's already answered that.
Okay, I see him there. Yep, I got him up here. Yep.
And then we have one other question about Naviance that we might jump back to if you have a second.
Okay, so the calculator, the best way, let me go back to that page. If you didn't have this link, how do you find that calculator? Honestly, all I usually do is just Google RAI calculator, and it comes up, right away. And it's something that we don't want. It's hard to think ahead, because if you're a sophomore or a junior, the most important thing to remember is that they want to know what your senior classes are going to be. So you don't have that information a lot of the times, but whenever you're putting in the number of core classes that a student's going to take, you got to make sure to include the classes that they plan on taking as a senior, and that would give you the best idea. The GPA, I always just use what the student currently has to kind of get an idea of where they might fall. And then the ACT score, if they haven't taken the ACT, I usually just try, like, the state average, I believe, is around 20 or 21. I think Valley's average is around a 21 ACT. And so it's just a guide. It's, and that's what we, just to kind of help students realize, okay, like, if I'm kind of short in one area, what's something that I can do to kind of improve while I still have time before I apply. And also, it's just a good resource to use, like I said, for other colleges that you're thinking about. Like, okay, if I'm going to be automatically admitted to Iowa State, or UNI, that should be a good indicator that, a lot of schools that you're looking at, that you're kind of on the right track. So again, if you don't have the link from this presentation, just Googling RAI calculator should bring it up. What was the question about Naviance student link?
Sure. And just, I will let people know that we'll have this presentation's recorded, but we'll also work with you, Eric, to get, we can make your presentation or parts of it into a PDF and make that available online. You and I will work separately on that, and then we'll have it available to families. The question about Naviance was really if Naviance helps provide any kind of guidance and support for summer opportunities, whether it's workforce experience or pre-college programs, anything like that.
I haven't seen that in Naviance myself, but we are constantly in the guidance office getting information about summer programs. And so please, if you're a student or you have questions about, like, okay, what are some things that I could do outside of the school? That's something that we could definitely partner with. And, as your student learns and you guys learn, so do we. And we have some resources that we've kind of gathered over the years, but we could definitely partner. But I'm not sure Naviance is. I haven't seen that in that program yet, but that's a good question. But I would just contact your guidance counselor about that. Okay, so scholarships. One of the things that I encourage sophomores and juniors to do. You can't apply for any scholarships yet, but we have an exhaustive list here on our Valley page that Polly Malley has put together and organized, and it is great to see what's coming up. So if you're a sophomore or junior and you know that you're going to be looking for some scholarship opportunities, they repeat themselves almost every year. So looking ahead, Mrs. Malley's done a great job of organizing these by date, by application deadlines. And so you can kind of scroll through here and see which ones are coming up. And then we have ones that are just unique to Iowa, certain schools. It's a pretty extensive list. The one that I want to try to promote the most is our West Des Moines Community Scholarship Program. First, if there's any senior families out there, go to this webpage and look for the West Des Moines Community Scholarship. We're going to be kind of pushing it out in advisory next week a little bit for seniors to really start thinking about. That scholarship program is only for Valley and Walnut Creek High School students that will be graduating this year. And so that's a great, and filling out an application, it doesn't cost anything, takes a little bit of time, but the chances that you might be able to get an award are always pretty good.
Eric, do you know when that's due, what month that's due? Because
Yeah,
since that
gosh, I'm
scholarship
sorry.
list
Off
is
the
by
top,
month.
it is February. It's due in February. So it's
Okay,
not,
so if they clicked on
yeah.
the February tab within there for February deadlines, it would be
Yep.
listed alphabetically, I believe. She lists
Yep.
the scholarships, or it may not be alphabetical, it may be by the deadline date, but that's where they would be able to find that.
Yeah, so like if I go back to that page and I go down to February, yep, let's scroll down here. It should be, oh gosh, you can just see how many we have listed here. It's a lot. Now of course there it is right there, the WDMCS Student Scholarship Fund. And so now with scholarships, you know, I always tell students that it doesn't hurt to apply. We try to do our best job to, put down the requirements in there. And you're going to see several that, of course, that you don't meet the qualifications for. Some might be for a specific gender, some might be for if you're going to a specific college, or but there is a lot out there, so it just takes a little bit of time and searching, and your guidance counselor will definitely help you with this, and we love to write recommendations for students too. So please don't hesitate to contact us. Okay, so sorry that I took so long there, but there's a lot of information. So I'm gonna turn it over to Larry here to go over some of the ACT stuff.
Okay, thanks, Eric. I appreciate listening to everything that you have to say, and it just kind of refreshes my mind on a lot of those things that go on that I don't think about from day to day. So can everybody hear me okay? Someone nod yes. Perfect. Okay. Eric alluded several times along the way, and why I was, I think, asked to join you today was to make some comments and things related to the ACT test, things that everybody probably should be aware of as you're coming into Valley or as you're working way through Valley. So, but I think we got to kind of start this conversation with the Board of Regents, and their actions this week have changed a little bit about the verbiage I need to use when I talk to families now. As Eric referenced here, the Board of Regents has now gone essentially test optional to all the state universities for the ACT and the SAT, meaning it is no longer required to take one of them to be considered for admission. However, as you read what went through, you will see that if they have an ACT score, they can use the RAI to gain that automatic admission. And for scholarship purposes within the university systems, that's things like right now, I don't know that Iowa State or Iowa would have. They may have a requirement that you've got to have an ACT score of X level or an SAT score of X level. So that is not going to go away in that standard. So I think my advice to my students will be, I think go ahead and keep doing it for now until we get a handle on really what this is going to look like as we go forward. During the pandemic, the state universities did lift the ACT requirement, particularly to class of 21 and 22, because a lot of schools shut down and were not able to get spring tests to the kids in those classes, and they had to come up with a different plan. And I think that is probably what has led us to this conversation now with what the Board of Regents has done this week. They figured out there's another way to go about this. So, but anyway, the ACT, I think I would start this with, don't panic. We'll guide you through when it's time to take the ACT. Sophomores coming into the building do not need to be worried about the ACT. My sophomores that I advise taking the ACT are typically at C-level math. So those are the kids that are in Algebra 2 Trig C, because the ACT does go through the Algebra 2 and the trigonometry. Those students have been exposed to all the math content that they're going to see on the ACT. So my sophomores that want to do it toward the end of the year, preferably April and June, so they get more geometry behind them and things like that. So, but a few years ago, we did go to doing the ACT to the entire junior class. We take a day off. This year it's going to be March the 9th, and we're going to test the entire junior class so that everybody has a score on the ACT, and that is free of charge to the families. So we are in the process now of beginning the setup to all of that. And I think I'm going to have a big handle in that. And Mr. Trainer is going to become my right-hand man, as I'm just now telling him. So the ACT, everybody out of Valley should have a score. A lot of our kids will take it a second and third time. It's very normal for me to see Valley students with 3 ACT scores. And my advice to the families is, if that score is continuing to go up, I would consider it again, because you can figure out as they go where they're deficient and where they need to focus on to improve their scores. So, and that's certainly going to be beneficial as you get to the universities. So that's what I wanted to share with the ACT. As you see, Eric is scrolling through. You can see it is offered multiple times throughout the year. There are 6 or 7 dates there that are considered national dates, right? The one that I just referenced, where we're going to do it here at the school, is considered a school-based date, and you cannot randomly sign up for school-based testing. You have to be enrolled with us to get that. So, but the dates that Eric's got there, where Valley is hosting as a national test, anybody in the country can sign up and come here to Valley High School and take the ACT with us.
Larry, I just want to say really quick. So since we're giving the ACT in March to all of our juniors, Valley is not a national testing date on the February or the April test date. And July, we are not. So September, October, December that had passed. So if you have a junior that's going to take the test in March, if they want to take it again before they're a senior, June 11th would be the test date to sign up for that. And then we plan on in the fall offering the September, October, and December national test date directly at Valley. Now, a lot of students, they wanted to still take a national test date in February and April, even though we offer it here at the school. There's students going to Downlane, there's students going to Urbandale. So there are other schools. You don't have to be a Valley student to take it. We host students from all over the metro on those Saturday dates. So, but Saturday, June 11th, if your student wants to take it at Valley High School again, that will be the next date that you could sign up for at Valley. Otherwise, you could sign up for a testing date somewhere else.
Okay, thanks, Eric. I appreciate the follow-up in on that. And I forgot we had kind of changed that a little bit. The first year we did it, I tried to do a February ACT with about 400 kids signed up, and then run 600 at the end of February with the school-based test, and it was insane. So we kind of went to that avenue. And February, it was mostly our juniors anyway, so it's not impacting anybody, I think, long term. So, but that's what I wanted to share with you regarding the ACT and the standardized testing. I know you see the SAT there. SAT is not a big draw in our school. On any given SAT date through the College Board, I might have 5 to 7 students that test somewhere. And at that number, College Board said, we're not a big enough place to host. So SAT is not given in our building on Saturdays. They typically are going to Roosevelt and Johnston are the 2 places that take care of most of Polk County. Okay.
Hey, Larry, there's a couple of ACT questions that we might want to make sure we answer real quick. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
The first one was, if the ACT is taken multiple times, what score does the college see?
They will see every score that is released to them. They will always function with the highest score, because as the kids know, the high score gets me in the door, but they use the high score for determining their averages. You know, the average freshman enrolled with us with a 26 ACT. So the colleges want to go that avenue as well. There are very few schools around the country that will take only the last score done. There's very few.
Okay, thank you. The other question was, can you explain the difference between the ACT that has a writing component and one that does not?
Oh yeah, I like that conversation. You know, there was a time, I'm going to go back maybe 10 years or better, College Board with the SAT thought that a writing assessment was going to be the be-all end-all in college admission. And then ACT followed suit and created this separate writing exam that's not part of the score, but you get a second sub-score on your writing ability. Over time, the numbers dwindled and SAT has now dropped that essay component. And with ACT, it is just optional. So I'm not sure how much longer ACT will hold on to that writing assessment. When it started, I was running ACT rooms of plus writing. About 125 to 150 students per test date were signing up and doing that. And I think last fall barely had enough, maybe 1.5 rooms full of writing. So it's not what I think ACT even thought it was going to be. So my advice to families on that would be, if you are a very gifted writer and it's going to make you look even better, do it. But if writing is not a strong suit and that's not the passion area, right, then I think the traditional 4 tests of the ACT would be sufficient.
I know we're running out of time here in order to provide some opportunity for the principals to provide updates. So Alana, I'm going to just push it back to you to decide how you want to manage these last 8 minutes of the meeting. If there are additional ACT or SAT questions that haven't been answered, certainly a lot of that information probably is within this presentation, or I would presume they could reach out to their student's counselor.
Yes.
Unmute. I think that sounds good. I think we give an opportunity to the principals to speak quickly and then wrap it up so that everyone can get back to their day in the hour that we've been allotted. I appreciate Mr. Trainer and Mr. Mandernock sharing all that great information and the great questions that came out of the group. I'm going to throw it over to either David or Mitch, whichever one of you wants to start.
David, do you want me to go? I like I said, okay, all right. Well, first of all, like I said, real quickly, I know that both buildings are kind of looking at the weather tomorrow. So just right on the top of things, be looking at a potential, 2-hour early out, depending on how bad the weather goes. We're preparing that for our staff and for our 2 buildings. If that does happen tomorrow, and we know that before we walk into the day tomorrow, we won't be transitioning kids back and forth between Valley and Southwoods tomorrow. So that's just a quick hitter, so parents to be aware, but be watching for any announcements that could be made coming from the district level. The next thing I want to talk about is talking a little bit about ESSER 3 funds, which you don't need to worry about the funds, but it's the money that was set aside for the learning that may have been lost for students that has been given to districts around the country to help support recouping some of that learning. All the buildings from junior high, so Stillwell, Indian Hills, Southwoods, and Valley have been allotted the opportunity to hire a coordinator and 4 core area teachers to help, again, very similar to what we did last summer with students that needed some credit recovery or just needed some little extra time here to help support the earning of credits, both at Valley and Valley Southwoods. Those programs, we've just advertised those positions now. There's a lot of them, and there's going to be a high need for teachers to want to do that. And so we're going to be putting that together, and it will be starting hopefully here very shortly after second semester starts. But it is for the intent for students to recover some credit. This is different and above and beyond like other opportunities that we've already had in the district, because we use our Walnut Creek night school and summer school. This is in addition to, and it will be housed within our buildings. So those are just some really things that I'm excited about that are going to help students that may have struggled first semester or still need some opportunities to rebuild credit. Those are going to be coming down the pike. And you're going to be hearing about more of those opportunities coming from both buildings in the very near future. So things to be aware about that parents probably don't know about, and opportunities that you have. So I'm gonna, with that, that's really the big things that I wanted to discuss. This is the end of the semester. So Friday is the last day of the semester. I will say that kids have 2 weeks to make up material. We're always flexible to work with our families though. COVID has still causing issues for us. So, I've got a lot of families that are reaching out right now that they can't come back to school in this window because of COVID. And I will just say that we will do everything in our power, working with our teachers, to allow kids to make up material, to take a test or whatever it is that they need to do. But that's kind of been, I would say, the number one thing on families' minds. As we transition, we talked about registration for next year. That process is starting for all grade levels, moving on to the next building, so 9th to 10th. And I would just say January and February dedicated to making sure that process gets completed successfully. So be communicating with your students, be looking for information coming from the schools about that process. David?
Got it. Thanks, Mitch. Good afternoon, everyone. I have just a few minutes here, and I think I'll probably fill this time perfectly. Just about 4 things, actually. First of all, I just want to let any incoming freshman parents know that tonight we have our freshman parent night from 6 to 8 in the PAC. Administrators and counselors will be there just speaking and answering questions. And it basically is an overview as to all that Valley has to offer with regards to our curricular program, schedule, and some activities as well. February has always been historically probably one of the most challenging months for schools, just because it's the last month of winter. It's just kind of like a dead zone. And so we decided we wanted to do something fun during February. So we're going to actually have a winter dance. We used to offer this a number of years ago, but it's been probably 6 or 7 years since the last time we had a winter dance. It's going to be Saturday, February 19th. From 7 to 10, and it's actually going to be right here in our community at the Horizon Event Center in Clive, which used to be Seven Flags, and the cost will be $15. Basically, it's going to be our sweetheart dance. First semester, we really decided we need to focus on making sure kids got to class on time, and so we implemented a tardy policy at Valley, where we really wanted to focus on, again, making sure that kids were getting to class within that 5-minute passing period. Second semester, we're going to be focusing on absences. We've heard from our teachers a lot of concern around absences, and we know there's a direct correlation between absences and academic success. So parents, you'll be receiving some more information actually tomorrow, in addition to the newsletter that I send out. Lastly, prom this year is going to be April 23rd, and we still need some help with post-prom. This is something which is organized and run by parents. And so the biggest need that we have is making sure that we have food donations secured, entertainment secured, prizes, as well as volunteers to help check kids in and just be there. Usually post-prom lasts about 4.5 hours. Prom is over at 11. We check kids in between 11 and 12, and then we wrap it up usually right around 4 o'clock in the morning. Right now, I believe Shannon Campbell, our associate principal in charge of activities, said that we're up to about 6 volunteers, but no identified point person. So again, if you know of somebody or if you yourself are interested in helping, that would be greatly appreciated. Just reach out to Shannon here at school. It's Campbell S, last name, first initial, at wdmcs.org. That's it. And I think we got about 15 seconds left of this meeting. So
thank you so much, everyone. And I'm just going to wrap it up and say thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thanks to our speakers. I really appreciate it. We have one final meeting of the school year, which will be held on April 14th at noon. So look for information when that date gets closer. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.